My daughter-in-law posted her wedding registry in my son's hospital room. That sentence alone sounds like a bad dream, doesn't it? But I remember the way it happened. The white glow of hospital lights, the quiet hum of a ventilator, and my son lying there, pale and still, while she sat beside him with her phone, smiling. Her name was Tara, and I remember thinking as she typed away that morning that she looked too cheerful for a woman sitting beside a man she almost lost. When she leaned close and said, "I just posted it, it's official," my stomach turned before my mind caught up. "Posted what?" I asked her. She didn't look up. Our wedding registry. The word "our" hung in the air like smoke. I thought I misheard her, but then she showed me her screen. Photos of tableware, luggage sets, a honeymoon fund, captioned, "Celebrating Ryan and Tara's journey of love, even in hard times." And there he was, my boy, unconscious in that bed, a hospital wristband still on his arm. That's how it began. Before all this, before the crash, before the lies, before the strange morning when my son's hospital room turned into a wedding showroom, life was simple. I'd just turned 58. I worked part-time at the library, spent my evenings tending to my small herb garden, and on weekends, Ryan would come by for dinner. He'd bring that same easy smile he'd had since childhood, even after long shifts at the auto shop. He'd always been kind, soft-spoken, thoughtful, a little too trusting maybe. He'd met Tara at a friend's birthday dinner. I remember when he first brought her over, she had a laugh that filled the room and a perfume that lingered long after she left. She was beautiful, I'll give her that. Polished, confident, the kind of woman who made everyone else feel like they needed to sit up straighter. But something in me never relaxed around her. It wasn't jealousy. I was happy Ryan found someone. It was something quieter, like the way she looked at him sometimes, as if she was measuring him, not loving him. Still, I told myself it was my imagination. I didn't want to be that kind of mother-in-law, suspicious for no reason. When Ryan told me they were talking about marriage, I tried to smile. He looked so proud, so sure. "She's the one, Mom," he said one night, stirring his coffee absent-mindedly. "She says she's never met someone who makes her feel safe like I do." "Safe," I repeated, watching his face. "That's a good thing, baby." But a small part of me wondered, was he the one feeling safe, or was she the one keeping her secure? Then came the call. It was a Thursday evening in early spring. I was washing dishes when the phone rang. "Mrs. Porter, this is County General. Your son Ryan's been in an accident. He's stable, but you should come." Stable. That word can break you when you hear it from a stranger. By the time I reached the hospital, Tara was already there. Makeup perfect, hair neatly pinned, a designer coat folded over her arm. She was crying, but the kind of crying that comes in controlled doses, like it was meant to be seen. When she saw me, she clung to me immediately. "Oh, Mrs. Porter, it was so awful. They said it wasn't his fault, but the other driver just..." She choked on the words. I held her, even though my arms felt stiff around her shoulders. My eyes were already on the closed ICU door. Ryan lay there, under a thin, white sheet, tubes and wires everywhere. His right arm was bandaged, his face scraped, but he was breathing. Thank God he was breathing. For the next few days, I barely left his side. The hospital became our whole world. The steady beeping of machines, the sterile smell of antiseptic, and the endless coffee cups left on windowsills. And Tara? She was always there, always in control. She talked to the nurses, asked about his medications, even rearranged his pillows. I told myself it was love. That's what love does. It takes charge. But then came the morning of the registry post, and I started to wonder if it was something entirely else. She'd arrived early, dressed in white. White blouse, white skirt, white shoes. She looked like she was attending a bridal brunch, not sitting in a hospital room. Ryan was starting to wake up more, still weak but responsive. He'd squeeze my hand sometimes, look at me with those dazed blue eyes that always made me ache with love. Tara had been scrolling on her phone for nearly an hour when she suddenly gasped. "Oh, it's done," she said softly. "We're official." I thought she meant a discharge form, maybe an insurance paper, but then she turned the screen toward me. There it was, our family photo, a smiling picture of Ryan she'd taken months ago, and bold words, "Help us start our forever, Ryan and Tara's wedding registry." There were over 100 items listed, everything from a $600 blender to a $3,000 honeymoon fund. I stared at it, frozen. "Tara," I whispered, "you made a wedding registry? Now?" She smiled, eyes bright. "People want to help. Everyone's been asking how they can support us. This way they can contribute to something positive, our new beginning." I looked at my son. His eyes were closed again, his hand limp in mine. "I asked quietly. "He doesn't even know what day it is." Her tone sharpened. "He would want this. He told me before the accident he wanted to marry me by summer. I'm just making sure that dream doesn't die because of bad luck." Something cold crawled up my spine. "Bad luck?" I said softly. "He's fighting to walk again, Tara. This isn't bad luck. It's his life." She sighed, almost impatiently. "You don't understand, Mrs. Porter. This is about hope. People love a love story. If you just let me—" I didn't let her finish. I stood up, walked to the window, and took a deep breath. The city outside looked small, gray, uncaring. Something in my gut told me this wasn't about hope. It was about control, and it was only the beginning. That night, I couldn't sleep. The image of that wedding registry kept replaying in my mind. The smiling photo of my son beside those glittering words, "Help us start our forever." But what unsettled me most wasn't the timing. It was the way she'd said, "People love a love story." I'd spent my life believing that love stories are written in quiet moments, shared meals, gentle care, patience, not hashtags and donation links. Around midnight, I walked down the hospital corridor with a cup of stale coffee. The nurses had dimmed the lights. Everything smelled faintly of bleach and exhaustion. When I returned to Ryan's room, Tara wasn't there. Her purse sat on the chair, but she was gone. I checked the hallway, empty. I assumed she'd gone to the restroom, but 20 minutes passed. 30. Then I saw her through the glass window of the family lounge, phone pressed to her ear. Her tone was low, but sharp, clipped. Nothing like the trembling, sweet voice she used around my son. "I told you, I'm not waiting anymore," she said. "The timing's fine. He'll agree once he's fully conscious. His mom's emotional, but she'll come around. Just trust me." A pause. Then she laughed. It wasn't a warm laugh. It was hollow, practiced. "I already posted it," she said. "Now people will start buying. Once the money comes in, I'll handle the rest." My hands shook so badly I nearly spilled my coffee. Money? I stepped back before she could see me, heart pounding. When she finally returned, she smiled sweetly. "Just had to take a quick call. My cousin's helping me organize the registry. She says it's blowing up already." I forced a nod, though bile rose in my throat. That was the moment I decided something wasn't right. The next day, I arrived early, before Tara, before the doctors even started their rounds. I wanted a few quiet minutes with my son. He was awake, barely, his voice hoarse. "Hey, sweetheart," I whispered, brushing the hair from his forehead. "It's Mom." He blinked, confused. "Registry?" "Yes," I said. "On social media. She said it's for your wedding." He didn't answer. He turned his head slightly, as if searching for something in the ceiling tiles. Then quietly he said, We talked about it, but I didn't, not yet." That was all he managed before his eyes closed again. I sat there for a long time, my fingers gripping the side of the bed. Not Yet. Those two words stuck to me. By the time Tara arrived, an hour later, holding 2 coffees and humming to herself, I'd made my mind up. I wasn't going to accuse her. Not yet. I needed to understand who she really was, what she wanted, and how far she'd gone behind our backs. "Good morning, Mrs. Porter," she chirped, handing me a cup. "You look tired. I told you. You should go home and rest." "I'll rest when my son walks out of here," I said evenly. She smiled faintly, setting her purse down. "Of course, you're such a dedicated mom." Then she sat down beside Ryan, took his hand, and began talking softly about colors and flowers. At first, I thought she was trying to distract him, but the way she spoke, it was like she was trying to plant a seed. She said, "Remember how you said blue hydrangeas were your favorite? I found this venue that matches that theme. It's perfect, just what you wanted." He didn't respond. His eyelids fluttered, and he drifted back to sleep. Tara kept talking. I realized then she wasn't talking to him. She was talking for me. Over the next few days, I began to notice more. She always had her phone out. She took photos of him, his hands, his IV, even his sleeping face, and posted them online with captions like, "True love never gives up. We're fighting for our future." People flooded her comments with sympathy and donations. And every time someone asked about the wedding, she replied with a pink heart emoji and a link to the registry. One afternoon, while she was downstairs getting lunch, I scrolled through her page myself. It wasn't just a few posts, it was a campaign. A love fund, she called it. She'd even set up a GoFundMe using a photo of Ryan in the hospital bed. The caption read, "My fiancé and I had our lives turned upside down. We were days away from finalizing our wedding plans when tragedy struck. Help us rebuild the dream." Days away? That wasn't true. I'd spoken to Ryan the night before the crash. They hadn't even set a date. My hands went cold. Then near the bottom of the page, I noticed something else. Her name listed as the sole beneficiary. That's when I knew this wasn't just emotional manipulation. It was financial. The next morning, I brought my sister Denise to the hospital. She's a retired nurse, sharp as a tack, and impossible to fool. As soon as she met Tara, her eyes narrowed. "She's polished," Denise whispered when Tara left the room. "Too polished. And that perfume? Expensive. You're sure she's not using this situation to boost her own comfort?" "That's exactly what I'm worried about," I said. Denise leaned closer. "Then we'll find out, but don't tip your hand yet. Let her think you believe her." I nodded. Later that day, I watched Tara sit by Ryan's bedside, phone in hand, scrolling through hundreds of likes and comments. When a nurse came in to check Ryan's vitals, Tara smiled sweetly and said, "Can we take a quick photo while you're adjusting the monitor? I want to show everyone how strong he's being." The nurse froze. "Ma'am, we don't allow photos during procedures." Tara's smile faltered just for a second before she put the phone down. That tiny crack in her perfect facade told me everything I needed to know. That night, after Tara left, I opened Ryan's phone from his drawer. His passcode hadn't changed, still his birthday. There were dozens of unread messages, friends, coworkers, even his boss checking in. But one text thread caught my eye. It was with Tara, and it was dated 2 weeks before the accident. The last message from her read, "If we do it now, before your mom gets involved, everything will be easier. Trust me." My heart thudded so loud I thought I might wake him. Before your mom gets involved? So this had been planned long before the crash, and I'm not going to sit quietly anymore. The following morning, I woke up with a heaviness that felt like it had settled into my bones. For the first time since the accident, I didn't feel just worried, I felt angry. I'd spent my entire adult life trying to teach my son to be kind, to be trusting, but now that same goodness was being weaponized against him. As I sat in the hospital cafeteria stirring sugar into my coffee, I made a decision. I was going to find out just how deep Tara's deception went and how long it had been going on. The first person I talked to was Maggie, the receptionist on the 5th floor. She was one of those people who knew everything that went on in the building, kind, chatty, and observant. "Maggie," I said quietly as I handed her a box of cookies I'd brought from home, "you've seen a lot of families come through here. Can I ask you something off the record?" She looked up from her computer, smiling. "Sure thing, Mrs. Porter. What's going on?" I leaned in slightly. "Do you know if Tara, my son's fiancée, has had many visitors here? Maybe people I haven't met?" Maggie's eyes flickered. "You mean besides you?" "Yes." She hesitated, then lowered her voice. "A few, actually. A woman about her age came by twice last week, claiming to be her business partner. She stayed maybe 15 minutes each time, brought envelopes. They didn't seem close. It was very formal." I frowned. "Did you catch her name?" "Something with a J. Jenna, maybe? Blonde hair, wore a green suit." "Thank you, Maggie," I whispered, trying to keep my face calm. But inside, something snapped into place. A business partner? Envelopes? What kind of business was Tara running while my son lay half-conscious? That afternoon, I decided to confront her, carefully. When I entered Ryan's room, she was sitting cross-legged on the couch, laptop open, typing furiously. "Hard at work?" I asked, my tone casual. "Oh, hi, Mrs. Porter. Just finalizing some registry updates. People have been so generous. I'm actually overwhelmed." "That's nice," I said softly. "You must have a lot of friends." Her fingers paused on the keyboard. "A few," she said carefully. "Or business partners," I added lightly. Her eyes flicked up, narrowing just a fraction. "What do you mean?" "Oh, nothing," I said with a smile. "Just that I heard a woman named Jenna stop by last week." She blinked, then recovered quickly. "Oh, right, Jenna. She's helping me manage the online accounts. She works in marketing. I thought it'd be smart to get some visibility for the fundraiser. Make it more professional." My chest tightened. "Professional?" I repeated. "Your fiancé is in a hospital bed, and you're hiring marketing help?" Her voice sharpened. "I'm trying to build something good out of something awful, Mrs. Porter. I thought you'd appreciate that." "Appreciate what, exactly? Turning my son's tragedy into a brand?" She slammed the laptop shut, her cheeks flushing. "You don't understand. People want to support us. They want to feel part of our love story." "Love story?" I said softly. "Tara, my son doesn't even remember talking about a wedding date." That stopped her. For the first time, her mask slipped, her lips pressed together, and her eyes darted toward Ryan, who was sleeping again. "He will. He just needs time." I watched her face. There was something there. Desperation, fear, something almost brittle. "Why are you rushing this?" I asked quietly. Her eyes glistened. "Because," she took a shaky breath, "because I need him to choose me before he listens to anyone else." There it was, the truth, or at least the start of it. But I knew there was more. Later that evening, after she left, I did something I never thought I'd do. I went through her purse. It sat on the visitor's chair, half open, while Ryan slept. My hands trembled as I searched through the neat compartments. Her makeup, receipts, a gold pen, a stack of hospital visitor passes. And then I found it. A small black notebook. Inside were pages of lists, scribbled in her looping handwriting. Registry sponsors, confirm payouts.
Jenna, invoice number 002, PR draft from tragedy to triumph, how love heals. Ryan's speech, if able to talk by video, and then one line circled 3 times. Secure joint account before discharge. I froze. Joint account? My blood ran cold as I flipped further through the notebook. There were budget calculations, a list of donations she'd received so far, and plans for a hospital engagement photo shoot she'd scheduled with a photographer for next week. The air felt heavy in my chest. I sat there, the sound of the heart monitor echoing in my ears. When I looked up at my son, sleeping peacefully, something inside me broke open. Not in anger, but in grief. He trusted her, and while he lay helpless, she was turning his pain into profit. The next morning, I brought Denise in on my discovery. We sat in the hospital cafeteria, her eyes scanning the notebook, her lips pursed in disbelief. She's either delusional or she's running a full-blown scam, Denise said finally. Maybe both, I said quietly. You need to talk to the hospital's legal department. If she's posting his medical photos and collecting money in his name, that's not just unethical, it's illegal. I will, I promised. But first, I need proof she's not acting out of panic or grief. I need to see who's behind all this. Denise nodded. Then we start with Jenna. That afternoon, I found Tara in the hallway, pacing on the phone again. I told you I'll transfer it by Friday. Once the next round clears, you'll get your cut. Don't call me here again. When she turned and saw me, her face went pale. Everything okay? I asked sweetly. Fine, just a work thing. Work, I echoed, watching her fingers clutch the phone like it was a lifeline. And then I knew. Tomorrow, I'd make my move. Because love might make you patient, but motherhood makes you strong. And this mother was done watching from the sidelines.
I woke before sunrise the next day, mind already racing. The notebook, the fundraiser, the phone call, it all painted one clear picture. Tara was taking advantage of my son's condition for her own gain. But I also knew one thing. If I went in guns blazing, accusing her outright, she'd twist it. She'd cry, she'd play the victim, and somehow I'd be the bitter mother-in-law trying to ruin their love. So I needed to be careful, precise, and I needed help. I called Denise. She answered on the first ring. Ready? She said simply. As I'll ever be. Good. Meet me at the cafe across from the hospital at 9 and bring that notebook. When I got there, Denise was already sitting at a corner table with her laptop open. She had her reading glasses perched at the tip of her nose, that look she got whenever she meant business. I did a little digging last night, she said. Turns out, that GoFundMe link Tara made, it's connected to an email under her business name, Tara Influence Media. Influence Media? I repeated, confused. She turned the screen toward me. There it was, Tara's face, front and center, on an old Instagram page promoting her as a lifestyle coach and brand consultant. Her bio read, "Turning real-life struggles into inspiring stories. Let's build your personal narrative." Oh, Lord, I muttered. She's not new to this, Denise said grimly. She's done this kind of thing before, spinning personal stories online for money. Most of her old posts are gone, but I found cached ones. Her ex-boyfriend? She raised money for his recovery journey after they broke up. He commented later that he never saw a dime. I pressed my hand to my chest. So she's done this before. Denise nodded. You said she was talking to someone named Jenna, right? I found a PR rep named Jenna Michaels who used to tag her in posts.
They worked together on some online campaigns years ago, all inspirational couple stuff. I exhaled slowly. This isn't just manipulation. It's a business. Denise leaned in. We're going to stop her, but we need to do it the right way. Quietly. She can't know we're on to her. When I returned to the hospital, Tara was already there, sitting beside Ryan's bed, typing away on her phone as usual. "Morning," she said brightly, her voice just a little too cheerful. "Morning," I replied, forcing a smile. "Look, we passed $12,000 last night. People are so kind. I've been replying to every donor personally." I clenched my jaw. That's a lot of money. It's all for Ryan, for his recovery, for our future. I smiled faintly. Of course. Then casually, I added, Denise was asking about your registry. She thought it might be a nice idea for the hospital fundraiser she's helping with. Maybe you could meet her later today. Her expression tightened for a fraction of a second, but she recovered fast. "Sure," she said. "I'd love to." Perfect, I thought. At noon, Denise arrived. Tara greeted her with that same sugary smile she used on everyone. "Denise, right? Ryan's aunt?" "That's me," Denise said pleasantly. "I heard about your campaign. So inspiring. I'd love to learn more." Tara beamed. "Of course. It's been overwhelming, honestly. I've had people from all over the world donate." Denise leaned forward. "That's amazing. So, is everything going straight to Ryan's medical expenses? I'd love to share it with some of my colleagues." There was a slight hesitation, a barely noticeable pause. "Well, some of it," Tara said smoothly. "I mean, there are processing fees, content management costs, and I've been paying Jenna for PR work. But it's all part of the same goal, spreading awareness." Denise leaned forward. "That makes sense. You must have some kind of written breakdown for transparency, right? Just so people know how their money is being used?" Tara's face stiffened. "Of course," she said quickly. "It's all documented." "Wonderful," Denise said. "If you could send that to me, I'll make sure it gets shared with some medical outreach groups. Could really boost visibility." "I'll get it to you later," she said, glancing at her phone. "I have a call now. Excuse me." She slipped out into the hallway, her heels clicking sharply against the tile. Denise turned to me, her eyes cold. Got her. We didn't have to wait long. Within hours, Denise got an email from Jenna, not Tara, responding on her behalf. The message was curt. "Due to privacy concerns, we can't share financial documents at this time. The fundraiser is personal, not corporate." Denise smiled grimly. Translation: she's hiding something. We took that email along with screenshots of Tara's social posts and went straight to the hospital's patient advocate office. The woman we spoke with, Maria, was calm, professional, but as soon as she saw the photos and notes, her eyebrows shot up. "She's using his medical imagery," she said, "without consent? That's a major violation of patient privacy laws." She began taking notes rapidly. "We'll escalate this immediately. But Maria, you should prepare yourself. Once we confront her, it might get messy." I nodded. I've been living in messy for weeks. That evening, as the sun began to set, painting the hospital walls gold, I sat quietly beside my son. He was awake, more alert now, his speech improving. "Mom, what's going on? You look tired." I took his hand. "It's been a long few weeks, sweetheart. You've been through a lot." He smiled faintly. "Tara said we're planning something? She keeps talking about a wedding." I felt my throat tighten. "Do you remember asking her to marry you?" He frowned, searching his memory. Not really. I said I loved her, that I wanted to build a life, but everything after that's fuzzy. Would you want to wait until you're fully recovered so you can decide for yourself? He nodded weakly. Yeah, I think I need time. Relief flooded through me. Quiet, but deep. Then that's what we'll do, I whispered, because for once, my son was speaking for himself, and tomorrow, the truth would speak for itself.
The next morning began with a strange stillness. Hospitals are never quiet. There's always a beep somewhere, a cart rolling, a murmur in the halls. But that day, the air itself felt waiting, like everyone sensed something was about to happen. Maria from patient advocacy had called early. "Mrs. Porter," she'd said, her tone clipped but kind, "we're going to speak with Miss Lang today. You don't need to be in the room, but we'll keep you informed." I thanked her and hung up, though my hands trembled after. When I arrived at Ryan's room, Tara was already there, dressed sharper than usual, hair curled, lips a perfect mauve. She had that phone in her hand again, whispering into it. "I told you we'll go live after the press release. No, don't post the statement yet." Then she saw me. Her smile switched on instantly, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Oh, Mrs. Porter, good morning. Ryan had a great night. We were just talking about next steps." "Next steps," I repeated, setting my bag down. "That sounds important." She nodded eagerly. "Yes, we're launching a recovery series online, documenting his progress. It's going to help others who've been through trauma. We'll be inspiring thousands." Ryan blinked, confused. "Series?" he said softly. She smoothed his hair. "Don't worry about it, baby. You just focus on healing. I'll handle everything." Before I could speak, there was a knock at the door. It was Maria, flanked by a man in a navy suit and another woman carrying a clipboard. "Miss Lang," Maria said calmly, "could we have a word with you in private, please?" Tara frowned. "Now? I'm in the middle of something." "It's important," Maria said gently. "It concerns patient rights and your online activities." For the first time since I met her, Tara looked unsettled. She stood slowly, her smile wobbling just a little. "Of course," she said. "I'll be right back, honey." As she left, Ryan looked at me, his brow furrowing. "Mom, what's happening?" "Just some paperwork, sweetheart," I said softly, brushing his hand. But my heart pounded so loudly I could almost hear it echo. They were gone for over an hour. When Maria returned, her face was composed, but there was a sharpness in her eyes now, the kind that comes after witnessing something ugly. "She's been asked to leave the hospital for now," she said quietly. "Her actions violated several patient privacy rules. The legal team will follow up regarding the fundraiser." I let out a shaky breath. "So, it's over?" "Not yet," Maria said, "but the damage she was doing stops here." I nodded, pressing my fingers against my temple. Relief and exhaustion tangled in my chest like vines. "What about the money?" I asked after a moment. "She's been instructed to halt all withdrawals. We've contacted the hosting platform. They'll investigate the funds. If there's proof of misuse, it could escalate to criminal charges." I closed my eyes. "Thank you." That evening, I sat by Ryan's bed again. He was quieter than usual, but not confused. "She's gone, isn't she?" he asked softly. "Yes," I said. "For now." He nodded slowly, staring at the ceiling. I knew something felt off. Even before the accident, she started talking about our future like it was a show, not a life. Like everything had to be seen. He turned his head, eyes meeting mine. "Did I really almost marry her, Mom?" I swallowed hard. "You almost did, sweetheart, but you didn't." He smiled faintly. "Guess you saved me." "No," I said gently. "You saved yourself. You remembered who you were." But the story didn't end there.
2 days later, the fundraiser page disappeared, gone without a trace. But not before screenshots began circulating online. Someone, maybe one of her followers, maybe an anonymous whistleblower, had leaked the full story, that the wedding registry in the hospital had been set up before the accident, that Tara had used my son's condition to boost her image and profit from sympathy. The comments section turned into a storm. How could she do this? That poor man and his family. I donated. I want my money back. Her brand, what was left of it, collapsed overnight. Sponsors withdrew, pages unfollowed, and the so-called recovery campaign became a public example of exploitation. I didn't rejoice, not exactly, but there was a deep, quiet satisfaction in knowing truth had done the work for me. No shouting, no revenge, just light shining where shadows used to hide. A week later, she came back. Not inside the hospital, but outside, in the parking lot, waiting near my car. Her face was bare this time. No makeup, no polished veneer. "Mrs. Porter," she called out softly as I approached. I froze. She stepped closer, her voice trembling. "I know you hate me. I wanted to say I'm sorry." I looked at her for a long moment. "I don't hate you," I said finally, "but I pity you." Tears welled in her eyes. "I didn't mean to hurt him. I thought if I could make something out of it, maybe it wouldn't all feel so meaningless." Her words cracked, and for the first time, I saw the lonely, frantic girl beneath the performance. You don't build meaning by using people. You build it by showing up when it's hard, when no one's watching. She turned away, tears streaking her cheeks. "Tell him I'm sorry," she whispered, before walking off into the gray afternoon. When I got back to Ryan's room, he was smiling at the nurse, asking questions about his physical therapy. His voice had a spark again. For the first time in months, I felt peace settle into my bones. My son was coming back to me, piece by piece, day by day. And though betrayal had nearly broken us, the truth had given us something stronger, a second chance at honesty, at healing, at love unperformed.
It's been 6 months since that day in the hospital. The air outside feels different now, not heavy the way it used to. There's warmth in the breeze. And sometimes when I walk past the garden, I catch myself smiling without realizing it. Ryan is home. He's still in therapy, still rebuilding strength in his left leg, but he's alive. He's here. That's all that ever mattered. He moved back in with me for the first few weeks after his discharge. I insisted, half out of worry, half because the house had been too quiet without him. We'd sit on the porch most evenings, the same spot where he used to play guitar when he was a teenager. The cicadas hummed, and sometimes, when the light hit his face just right, I'd see the boy he used to be, the one who ran barefoot through the yard, shouting that he'd never grow up. Life had other plans. The first few weeks home were fragile. He'd wake up in the middle of the night sometimes, drenched in sweat, asking if she'd been there. It took a while before he stopped checking his phone for her messages. When he finally deleted her number, he looked at me and said quietly, "It's like taking off a cast. The leg still hurts, but at least it can breathe again." I didn't respond. I just hugged him. One afternoon, as we sorted through the pile of hospital bills, he found something in one of the folders, a printed photo. It was from the wedding registry, a promotional image Tara had uploaded. She was in a white dress, sitting beside his hospital bed, his hand in hers. I'd forgotten it was there. Ryan stared at it for a long time. Then, without a word, he tore it in half. "Mom," he said softly, "I used to think love meant saving someone, but maybe it's more about being saved from the wrong things." His voice cracked, but his eyes didn't. They were steady, clear in a way they hadn't been for months. "I think you're right."
And sometimes saving yourself starts with seeing who really stands beside you when no one's watching. In the weeks that followed, small blessings began to appear, like scattered pieces of light. A former coworker of Ryan's started a community fundraiser, not for clicks or sympathy, but to help cover the therapy costs. Anonymous donors sent cards. One man dropped off a casserole with a note that simply said, "You're not alone." And for the first time in a long time, I believed it. We weren't alone. Then, one morning, as I was making tea, Ryan called from the living room. "Mom, come here a sec." I wiped my hands on a towel and walked in. He was watching something on his laptop. A video. At first, I thought it might be another news story about the scandal. But when I leaned closer, I realized it was something else entirely. It was Tara. She was sitting in what looked like a small apartment, hair pulled back, no makeup, no filters. "Hi," she began, her voice quiet. "Some of you might remember me from a story that went viral earlier this year. I made mistakes, big ones. I used someone's pain for attention. I lied to people who trusted me." She paused, her eyes glistening. "If you donated, I've refunded every cent I could. I don't expect forgiveness, but I'm trying to learn what it means to live honestly again." Ryan watched in silence. When the video ended, he closed the laptop gently. "He thinks she means it," he said. "Maybe she does," I replied. He nodded. "I don't hate her anymore." "Good," I said softly. "Hate only keeps you tied to the past." A few months later, Ryan moved into a small apartment downtown, just a few blocks from the rehabilitation center where he now volunteers part-time. He helps others who've gone through trauma, talking them through the fear, the shame, the doubt. He told me once, "Mom, I used to think my life ended the night of that accident, but maybe it was just being rewritten. And maybe mine was too. Because through all of it, the shock, the anger, the heartbreak, I learned something I didn't know I needed to learn. How to let go without losing faith in love. Love isn't about protecting your child from every wound. It's about standing beside them, steady and unshaken when the wounds come." The day he moved out, I stood in his empty room, sunlight falling across the floor. There was a single box left on his desk, filled with things he said I could keep. Inside was an old photo of us at his high school graduation, a pair of hospital bracelets, and a small note. In his handwriting, it read, "For everything you did when I couldn't see, thank you. You saved my life twice." Tears came quietly then, the good kind, the kind that doesn't sting but heals. I sat on the edge of his bed and let them fall. Because in that moment, I knew we'd both found something far greater than closure. We'd found peace. And sometimes when I walk past the hospital on my way to visit him, I glance up at the window of the room where it all happened, the one that used to hold so much confusion, so much hurt. Now it's just another window, glowing softly in the evening light. And I think to myself, we survived that storm. Not because we were unbroken, but because somehow, even broken, we kept reaching for the light.